I don't know if there's anybody. So the level's moving when I talk. Let me just make sure it's the actual microphone. The levels move when I talk. So the levels are move. So we're definitely recording this time. We're good? All right, cool.
That means it's recording.
Yeah, that means the audio recording.
Okay.
You sure that?
Well, the level's going up, so I'm hoping. Okay. What I was saying a while ago. Wait, what is? Yeah, I do. Oh God, I'm too short. The control work?
What you need?
No. Down. Okay.
Wow, what control?
What was I saying a while ago? So we missed yesterday. I never get for record nothing for go now. So it depends very much on how today's class goes for me to choose whether or not to wing it a lab tomorrow. Last week I covered post and get requests. I don't look at the submissions yet. So I'm leaving it up to you to tell me how you feel about the stuff that we covered so far. I made extra effort this year to put in a rubric at the end of the document so that you know what I'm going to be marking for. My intention was to give you something to work toward. You're not just coding blindly. When you write your code, you look at the rubric, and if the rubric says you must do this, and your code do this, then you know so you get the mark. Yeah? So that's what I was hoping for when I was creating that rubric.
Okay.
So given that, I want to feel about the stuff we covered so far.
Did you get them from me personally?
Yeah. 55%. Okay. Oh, okay. Just Python is the problem. Right. Well, let me tell you, when I was in embedded, back in my undergrad, there was a student in my class, one of my classmates, that kept bringing up the excuse to say him don't know C. Every time Faulkner bring up something and say, you guys supposed to know to do this because this is not embedded, this is just C, that student kept raising his hand saying, sir, I don't know it's C. And Faulkner said, you need to just learn C. Because it's a prerequisite. You're supposed to know C. All the other engineering students, they did introduction to C or introduction to programming using C. So we all had it, so it wasn't an excuse. And honestly, I didn't think that that student was going to do very well. But that student got highest in the class. He learned C. And you know who that student is? No, not me. Yukini. Yukini, he taught you guys. Yukini, from mechatronics. You guys know Yukini? Oh, you know, okay. From mechatronics class, okay. Yukini, he is one of the fastest learners I know. Yeah? And to tell me that the Python is a problem, yes, I understand. It's still early, but you need to learn C. Not C, but yeah, you need to learn Python. So you have the resources available. If you have questions, you can ask me. Or if you don't want to ask me, you can go on YouTube. Or you can learn however you want to learn. But it's something that you need for this.
Yeah, so that demonstration next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
I think that we'll have a demonstration next week.
Next week?
Oh.
For final project?
For the capstone mark.
Oh, capstone. Oh, different something.
Oh.
Then you just hear demonstration and I was like,
Oh, no. It's capstone. Okay, no. Yeah, capstone. All right. So, with that in mind, we're going to be looking at the put, patch, and delete requests. So we start off like usual. Actually, do we start off like usual, or should I continue from my old code? All right, I'll start off as usual, brand new. So I'm going to go to File, Open Folder. And the way I'm doing it, I'm using this window to create the new folder that you would have created from before you get to this point.
That's okay.
I mean, it works. So like when it asks me to select a folder, instead of me selecting one of these folders, I'm just going to right click right here and say week 4. Create a new folder and say week 4. How are we already in week 4? And I'm going to create a new, a new folder and call it lecture. Lecture 1. Lecture 1. And then I'm going to select folder. Oh, right. I wanted to check to see if the people them needed. Let me check to see if anybody need the call. My mistake. Yeah. So what I did a while ago, while the recording was paused, was get all the virtual environments of setup by calling on this command, venv, then activated it, and then installed FastAPI and Ubiquitous. My activation command was different because I let VS Code do it for me. What do you want me to look at?
Oh no, so we're just trying to remember what we created here, but oh, it's Python.
Minus m, venv, right? All right, so I think I can close this up. Yeah, so can you remind me what put requests and patch requests are used to do, if you remember? We did post, which is to create something new. Get is to retrieve existing information. What are put and patch, you remember?
Patch, modify,
Modify, yeah.
put to replace the whole thing.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. I like the way you said it. So you use patch. When you said patch, when I said patch, you said modify. But when I said put, you said replace. That's a fair way to think about it, as long as you have the right connotation in your head. Because when you say modify, what I hear is we're not changing everything about it. We're just altering a particular part. But when you say put, you say replace, so you're changing everything. Yeah? If you're comfortable with that language, then fine. Normally what I say is put requests and patch requests are used to update a document. A patch request is a partial update and a put request is an entire update, right? And another thing that we're going to be looking at today. Come again? That's this one.
Yeah, and then activate it.
Activate it, you do, so it's a venv / oops, when this come off, scripts, activate, yeah. Oh yeah, you can do it that way.
Oh, you have to do that?
No, you don't have to. It's a optional way of doing it. Admit. Okay. Hello, Janelle. All right, cool. All right. So yeah, that's how you activate. Okay. So when we built our GET request and our POST request endpoints, we're following conventions. These conventions were not arbitrary. They came from actual specification documents maintained by the IETF, or the Internet Engineering Task Force. Really nerdy name, right? Today we're going to be looking at the specs. We're going to be looking at what the specs say about the put request, the patch request, and the delete request. So that we can understand when we're building our code, when we're building our applications, what are the conventions that we need to stick to make sure that they're compliant with, different standards. So the standards that we're going to be looking at, they are called RFC 9110. Let me see. And here's the thing, right? These documents, they're usually incredibly long, like super duper long. Whole heap of information in there. It is not to say that we're going to be going through the entire document, but there's some key stuff that we need to know in this document as it relates to what we're going to be doing. Let me see, if I do a Control F for post request. Post. Where am I going? Click this. Okay. Post request. All right, yeah, so one example. The RFC documentation we're looking at, as I said, the RFC documentation we're looking at that was created by the task force, RFC 9110. I'll post a link to it on VLE so you have access to it. But we can read a little bit of what it says about the post request. So it says the post method requests. The post method requests that the target resource process the representation enclosed in the request, according to resource's own specification semantics. What that means is, target resource, that's the thing that we are sending in our response, our request, I mean. That's the body, right? It's supposed to process the representation enclosed in the request. Enclosed in the request is what I talked about in the body, yeah? According to the resource's own specific semantics. So what that means is, it's supposed to process it in the way defined by the application that you're building. Your application is supposed to be used to define what logic or what processing takes place when I send you this information. Yeah? We're not going to go through all of this, but I'll make it available to you. You can copy this link, give it to AI, and make them summarize it for you. Yeah? Or I learned about this thing called Notebook LM, where you can give it anything and it can make a podcast out of it. Yeah. I learned. Oh, you've been using it? Okay, I learned about it 2 days ago. It's bad. It's very interesting. Yeah. It can just make a podcast, and it's just 2 white people talking about it. And you just listen to them.
You know, some people are losing like because it's a curated environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's sources.
Yeah. So you can use that. All right.
Yeah, you can watch YouTube ads them, man. You can watch YouTube ads them.
Oh, that's why it's free. Yeah. All right. So let me see now. Okay, another thing that we need to look at. I'm not sure if it's something we ever went in depth in, but it is the idea of idempotency. Idempotency is when you perform an action and that action, no, when you perform an action multiple times and the result is the same every time. Meaning you don't ever make a change. Just because you do something 2 times don't mean it make a change to the system on further, what I want to say, on further action to the server.
Sure.
All right, what I mean by this. You make a post request that's supposed to store some kind of sensor results. You have your sensor results on your microcontroller. You make a post request. That information is supposed to be stored in the server. If you make that same post request again, you don't change nothing else. What's supposed to happen on the server?
Same thing, you know, put it there, but no change.
It does change. Because before there was 1. Now there's 2. Both of them will be now in, like, for example, if it's a case where it's supposed to store the information in the database. With time, yeah. They will put the 2 of them, yeah? So that means post requests in that case are not idempotent because the result or the state of the server is different upon each request. For a GET request though, no matter how many times you make a GET from the server, the state of the server will never change. So if I make a request to get some information about this server, or sorry, this sensor, it will give me that information and the state of the server will stay the same. If I make the same request again, the state of the server is still the same. I'm getting the information and nothing is changing on the server. So a GET request in that case is idempotent. It's pulling, yeah, you're right. But still, even though it's not forward focus as you put it, it still remains that no matter how many times you perform that GET request, the server remains the same. So that's why, even though, yes, it's not supposed to alter anything, we still say it's idempotent. A put request. I believe according to our documentation, a put request should be idempotent. I'm not sure if it's anywhere in this, I can't see it at the moment, but it should be a case where when a put request is designed to be idempotent, you have an object on the server that exists in one particular state, and then you make a request to change it. When you change it, it's supposed to show you what that new change is to verify that the change that you requested was actually made. If you make the same request again, it's supposed to show you about the same thing we did a while ago. Meaning it is idempotent. Right? No matter how many times you make that request, the state of the server should remain the same because you're just changing something to what it already is. And if you're changing something to what it already is, it should just show you back whatever it was before, right? So in that case, it would be considered idempotent. Because no matter how many times you make the request, the state of the server is not going to change.
Even if it is time-based, no matter how much time you make, it's still a
Okay, that's a fair point. If the updates that you're making are time-based, meaning sometimes you might have a case where you have an object that has 2 flags, a created at flag and an updated at flag. If you're updating an object, the created at flag should remain as whatever time it was created at. but the updated at flag should now reflect the time it was updated. So in that case, it wouldn't be idempotent because the object would change every time you send the message, I believe. I guess it's a fair point to think about when, so for instance, you want to make an update to an object, and the update that you're sending is already how it exists. Maybe it would make sense to check to see what the update is and see what the current state is, and if there's no difference, don't update it. That would make more sense, because and then if you don't update it, the updated at flag stays from what it was before. That would be idempotent, and I think that would be a better idea. Because if you did update the updated at flag, it would imply that even though you sent an update, but there was nothing to update, it would imply that something was updated. But what was updated is just the time. Exactly, it's going to be the same. So maybe there's no reason. What question? No. It's because I'm saying updated that update. Yeah. Understand. Okay. Let me see. Let's create an example. Okay, so we start with our from. Wait, a pin? Oh, come again.
So things that are not time dependent. So say we have a database and a name, age, all that. Put, we have replace everything with it. Put, would I just, if you put, say my name is there, now we are input your information. That put will change everything with it there. What my one was. So now if you put your one a second time, then there will be added.
In the example that you're giving, it sounds like it's a case where there's only one slot for somebody's information.
Yeah, it's just like we have a database, my information and all information set for employee, a specific employee. But we have assigned that number to you. So the system will basically put a put replace
To change everybody, yeah.
But after my name change and your one, then if I send a next put, then that will be idempotent.
Assuming the request that you send the next time is the same as the one you sent before. Yeah. You understand the question, Max? Yeah? You understand the question, Max? He was asking, for example, if you have a system where, let's say, he's the admin in that system, and he's leaving the company, and he wants to assign me as the new admin, he would send a put request to replace all of his old information with my new information. Yeah? And then, for whatever reason, him send the request again with my information. So first is his information, then him replace it with my information. Then him will replace it again with my information. He's trying to replace my information with my information. It would be considered an idempotent request because he's trying to replace something on the server with something that already exists on the server. So it would be idempotent. Yeah?
But funny enough,
yes.
Thinking about it, there's always a constant.
Like what?
In that case, the admin number would have been the constant and you're changing whatever is in admin number. That's all?
Admin number mean like the ID?
Yes, so his information would have been stored somewhere. That's the constant where it's stored. And you're just changing whatever information you're putting into it.
So you're saying even if he does replace it with my information, some part of his information will still remain, you mean?
No, I'm saying that the storage facility is the constant. I'm saying.
Oh, I guess. I wonder if I understand what you're saying. Because what you're saying sound right, but why would it be any other way?
Because I was trying to correlate it with both examples with the time and this, and the constant with there with the time. In a case where that's the only factor you use to know that the change happened at a different time. But the information is changed.
Okay.
In that case where I put in a request, 1 p.m. to change Larry's name to your name, but I'm going to put the next request again to change your name to your name. But the constant there's the time, but the information inside changed.
Right. And I think in a case like that, it might make sense to, if it's a case where the request that you're making is identical to what is already on the server, don't update it so that the time does not change. Because you wouldn't want anybody to think that just because you perform the update request, it changed the time. You don't have to update. You get me? Because if the information that you're trying to send is already sent that's on the server, there's no reason for you to update it. And if you don't update it, it means that the updated at flag should not change. It should just remain as what it was before.
But that thing, you know, what is that case where like for the security reason I want to pull on that information? When was the last time?
Right, exactly.
Yes.
If you pull that information to say that it was updated yesterday, and when you ask a person if they updated yesterday and say yes, but they never actually changed nothing, it will be misleading. Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. Same, yeah, right, yeah. Okay, let's see. Put request. All right, I need my base model. All right, the example note I have here uses a book model. I don't know if I want a book. I mean, I can show you the book stuff and then you can just change it to whatever you want. The concepts remain the same, but for now we'll just use the book. So app equal to FastAPI. And let's create our base model now. So class. No, not that. So we're going to call it book. Base model. All right, books have IDs and the type will be UUID. So we need UUID up here. So from UUID import. No, something outside. Import UUID and UUID4. UUID equal, I need field as well. This is supposed to be a 4. All right, what else does book have? Books have titles, and that's going to be a string. Books have authors, and that's also going to be a string. Books have years, that's going to be an integer right here. And then we have a genre, string, oops. All right. Created that. In the lab, I asked you all to add a field called created at, right? Did we figure out how to get that date time set? So the instruction was to make it so that as soon as the object is created, it's supposed to get a timestamp that denotes the time at which the object was created. I don't remember if I'd shown exactly how to do it in class, but I think it was something that I relied on you doing your own research to do. Default factory, right. So we need default factory, but we also need the datetime library, which is built into Python. Datetime, let me see, from datetime, import datetime. So with that, we should have the datetime type, and we set this equal to field default factory datetime dot now. All right? And this also has an updated at field. Which is the datetime type as well. The field is going to be default factory. All right. Where is it going with this? So let's take a look at the class or the model that we've defined just now. By now, given the answer you gave to my question, we're all familiar with default factory. We know that we use default factory when we need to call on a function in order to set the default value of a field. Yeah? So in this case, I'm using the function that is called UUID4, which I got from the UUID library. And that will automatically assign an ID to my book. Every time a book is created, it gets an automatically assigned ID. Title, author, those are strings. Year is an integer. Genre is a string. Those are typical. We have two new fields now, created at and updated at. The both of them are set to be the current time. And the current time in this case would just be whatever the time is when a new model is created or a new instance of this model is created. So on first creation, created at and updated at should be the same. And created at should never change after that. But updated at should change every time the object changes. Yeah? Okay. So let's create.
Can I go up to the top?
Mm-hmm. I don't think I need this. Yes. Yes. So when you run datetime.now is the computer's time it takes. Yes. Actually, you know what? That's a good question. That's a very good question. To clarify, if your server where this code is running on a computer in Nairobi, it will use the time assuming that the computer in Nairobi is using Nairobi time. If the computer in Nairobi is using Sweden time, it will use Sweden time. So it's whatever time the computer that the server is running on sets it as or is set to. The reason I bring that up is because you can have your server here and you can have the client all the way over here in Jamaica. So if the computer that you're making the request from or the microcontroller that is recording and sending information from is in Jamaica time, and you have made it so that the time stamp is set on the server, it will use the server time. Good?
Your machine, it's okay, use a pipe for your computer.
Mm-hmm.
So a pipe won't necessarily, if you don't connect a pipe to the internet,
Mm-hmm.
you won't know present time. You can't use like NBC.
That's fair. If you buy a Pi straight from the factory and you never connect it to the internet, the only way for you to know what time it's currently set is if you go and check it. So there are ways, I think on a Pi you can just say time. If you just type time into the terminal, it will just tell you what time it is, I think. If I'm not mistaken, let me double check that. Well, that's correct, that's true. It doesn't have an RTC. But as long as the time is set and it's on and running and never turns off, the time will stay. Let me see some WSL. So on Linux, if you just go and say time, oh no, date. There you go, it tells you the date. So according to this, it is February 19th, 2:40. Yeah, that's right. You know what the 05 mean, right? It means the time zone. We're in UTC -5. Yeah. 2026. Yeah. So it knows that we're in this particular time zone. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's create our fake database now. So I'm going to say books equal empty. Oh yeah, you're right. Supposed to use a list. My mistake. Thank you so much. I'm wondering if it's worth showing this. It was going to cause confusion. I'm going to leave it. There, it can stay. Okay, so we have our fake database book list. Next, we need to create the request handler. So now we can start using the app that we created all the way here. So, question? It starts with empty. Yeah, that's correct. It just starts empty. Yeah. Let me tell you. In my notes, I have where you can specify the type of the information that should be in the list. I'll show you what that looks like. So it says books, and then you specify the type is dictionary, and it's supposed to be dictionary that has a UUID, comma, and then a book. And you set that equal to, wait, that is? Oh wait, sorry. This. And this book here, yeah. So basically, if you try to add a book to it and it don't follow this format, it will not take it. You can do that if you want. We'll try it. Let's try it just because. The reason why I'm hesitant to show you this is because after we start using real databases, this is not going to be helpful anymore. Yeah, because this is just Python. And what we're going to be using is a database that don't have anything to do with Python per se. We'll use Python to connect to the database, but we don't use this syntax and this logic to interact with the database. So that's why I was kind of hesitant to show you. But it won't hurt, so why not? Okay. So let's see now. At app.put. I'm going to specify our route. I will call the route /books. And, all right. Since I am creating a handler or an endpoint or a function that will allow me or the client to alter an existing book, what information would I need from the client when I'm altering this book? Come again? The title, well. Okay, so what you're referring to, the tono, is the alteration. So what it's supposed to be changed to, right? But what else?
What field is changing?
So that is the alteration. So what fields are changing, but what else? Something else we need. Come again? So we expect the user or the client to specify what it's supposed to change to, but what is it?
What are we changing?
Which book? Exactly, we need to know which book we're going to change. So it's two pieces of information we need.
So book where I change and when I change to.
Exactly. So the way we specify which book is by using URL parameters. This, the curly bracketing, yes. So, come again?
What's the purpose of the ID?
This one? Just that each book have a unique identifier. Two books can have the same name. Come again?
Oh, you use book ID.
Yes. Okay, that's a good question. Here is a variable that is local to this function. So we can specify in the function that this is supposed to refer to this. So it is not to say that this must be equal to, it don't have to be the same name. You just have to make sure that you assign the logic to show that there's a link. So now that I've done that, I need a function, def. And you know what? There was a question that I got asked last week that I did not consider. I took it for granted. Update book. But here's the thing, right? It wasn't a question from any of you guys. But it was a very important question. The question that was asked to me: how Python know that this and this are related? These two lines here. They're two separate lines, one on top of the other. But how it know that when the person make a request to /book/this, it's supposed to trigger this function? Maybe it's a case that you guys are not familiar with Python, or maybe you don't have the very strong foundation in programming. But when I got the question, it brought me back to the time when I learned about this concept. Yeah? This concept here where you put the @ sign is referred to as a decorator. We are decorating this function with some extra logic. So the logic that is defined in our function is being modified by this decorator. So this is like a function in itself. It's a function that takes a function, modifies it, and put it back. It don't make sense?
No,
Is that? That's fair. That's fair.
Decorator.
Yeah, decorators. It's something that you typically see in like object-oriented languages, heavily object-oriented languages like Java and C# and them. I see it a lot in Java for sure. But yeah, function decorators they're functions themselves that take a function as input, modify it, and put it back. So this function that we're about to write by itself does not know that it's supposed to be triggered when a put request is made at this route. But with this above it, it makes it so that it knows, and it will only trigger if somebody makes a request to that. Yeah? It's a function decorator. And it's a decorator. We know it's a decorator because it has the @ sign at the beginning. All right. Okay. So let's see now. So two things that we need to get in the function. The first thing is the book ID, which we are going to specify and say that the type is UUID. And the second thing is the body of the request that we will get from the body. So book data. And that type is supposed to be a book, right? So two things. We're taking the book ID, which is going to be of type UUID, and the book data, which is supposed to be of type book that we define there. This comes from the URL, the URL parameters, and this comes from the body of the request. If I'm not mistaken, I think the order in which you put these two things matters. So the first thing is this, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe you can play with it and see. And the second thing here is the body. See if you can change it around and see if it works. I'm not sure. I never actually tested it myself. Or maybe I did and forgot. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to check to see if the book exists. All right. Exists is equal to book ID in books. All right. This is a way how we can check to see. Wait, is it book ID? It's book ID, right? I think so. Book ID in books. All right. So with the way how our fake dictionary is set up, it is one big dictionary that has the key is the UUID and the value is the book itself. So this is checking to see if any of the keys inside of books is equal to this book ID, which is a UUID. If it is in there, this will return a true. So in is an operator, and it returns a Boolean, true or false. So it's checking to see if this value exists inside this dictionary. If it does exist, exists will be true. If it don't exist, it will be false. So it will be a way of us to alternatively, normally what you would do is probably use a for loop and loop through the whole list of books and check to see if it's in there. If it's in there, return it. If it's not in there, return something else. But this is just a one way to check to see if it's in there at all, right? Okay, so
it's we can replace this for loops with that.
Well, when you use the for loop, you're doing two things. You're both checking to see if it's in there, and if it is in there, you return it. And if it's not in there, this just check to see if it's in there. Yeah. So if it's a case where you just need to check to see if something exists, you can use this. But if you need to actually do something with it once you find it, use a for loop. Yeah? All right.
So do you know if you just do that and then say if it's there?
Yeah, I guess. And that actually, well, let me tell you. The reason why I say it's not necessarily a good idea to check it is because I don't know what in is doing behind the scenes. I would imagine in is probably doing a for loop in the background. Maybe it isn't, maybe it's doing it more optimally, but it's still going to have to do some check. The only way for in to work is if in checks. How it checks, I don't know. So it's not to say that it's more or less efficient, but it's an alternative. Yeah. Okay, so let me see now. So this says if it is there, but this does nothing if it isn't. Resource does not exist. Okay. Book data, book ID. One moment. Okay. Let's perform the actions that we would do if the book. Oh, this is if the book don't exist. Oh, I don't think I talked about that. That's why I'm confused. Let me see if I can find it. In the RFC documentation for book. Okay. So what I would have told you is that a put request expects an existing representation in the server for it to change. But according to this, if the target resource does not have a current representation, that means if it don't exist, yeah, come again? If it's not there, like if you try to update a book that have an ID of 10, and when you look in the database, there is no ID 10, That means there's no book. It's supposed to create a new one. So it's supposed to take the information that you got in the request body, and where is it? It's supposed to successfully create one. Then the server must inform the user by sending a 201 created response. Not the error, the status code. Exception. I wouldn't call it an exception. A status code, yeah. Hold on to that. I want to understand what you mean by that though. So in this case, what it means then that is a put request should be able to return more than one different kind of status code. And I'm seeing a 204 right here so as well. Response indicates successful completion of the request. What are you saying? Oh. I'm not sure when you'd return a 204, but in my opinion, what you should be doing is, if you can't find the thing that you're trying to replace, create it and return a 201 to tell the user it never exists, but I made it, see it here. And if it's a 200, that means it existed and I changed it. So that is how you would know as the client what process took place on the server. Whether it was created because it couldn't find the existing one, or it found the existing one and it replaced it with whatever you wanted to replace with. Yeah? Well, that's up to you as the person developing the server. Maybe. Let me see. The target resource does have a current representation, and the representation is must be modified in accordance with the state of the blah, blah, blah. Then return indicate successful. Okay. All right. It looks like, according to this, you choose which one you want to return. You return a 200 if your server is supposed to respond with the current representation of the entity. But if you don't respond with the current representation, you return 204. Remember, 204 means it do it, and that's it. I don't have anything else to tell you. But 200 means I did it, and here's the thing I just did. So 200 is when you're going to show them back some information, but 204 is when you're not showing anybody anything. You're just saying it do, and that's it. I can give you an example of both. So let us work on if the book does not, wait, hold on. Oh no, we don't even reach that far yet. So let's see. Regardless of whether it exists, we need two pieces of information. We need the ID and we need the updated at time. So let me see. Book underscore data dot ID, where is it? Dot ID is equal to book ID. Oh, right. And then the updated at, oh, right, yeah. Okay, so updated at is equal to datetime.now. Oh, I need book data. Okay. So now we're going to check to see if the book does not exist. So if not exist, have I ever showed you not in Python? In your if statements, when you're writing C code or Arduino code, you put an exclamation mark. That means if it does not exist, but in Python, you just put the word not. Okay? So not just changes, remember this is a Boolean. So not true is what? Not true. Not true. Not true is false. Yo! And not false is what? True. Okay, good. You know what that reminded me of? That thing where them say, how you go? Like what? Spell pot? And he said P-O-T, and he said spell pot, spell pot, spell pot. And then them say, without a green light. Stop. We're supposed to be going. You know, that's what reminded me of a while ago. Oh yeah. Okay, let me check on the call to make sure. Okay, General's still here. Assuming. Okay. So if the book that you're trying to create does not exist, okay, actually let me explain why I did these two steps. These two steps here, we need these two pieces of information because book data is what comes from the body of the request. In the body of the request, we are not expecting the user to set three particular things. We don't expect them to send the ID because they don't know the ID. They're trying to update some, or maybe they do, but they send it somewhere else. They're also not expected to know the updated at time and the created time. Here, we're only setting the updated time because we don't know yet if the book exists or not. If the book does not exist, then we'll set the created time. But if the book already exists, there's already a created time, so let's make it stay the same. The only thing we need to modify is the update to that time. Let's take a look. So I'm going to say book underscore data dot created at, and this is the if it doesn't exist. If it don't exist, I'm going to set it equal to date time dot now. And then I'm going to specify, I'm going to say, I guess I can just add the book to the list now. So I can say books, square bracket, book ID is equal to book data. So these two lines of code, what I'm doing here is I'm setting the created time and I'm adding the book to the books list. So this is my books list. I'm specifying the book with this particular ID, set this book data. And this book data, at this point, will have a created at, we'll have an updated at, and it will have an ID along with all the other things that it already came in with. Kind of complicated? Ask me your questions. Mm-hmm. Hold on. Yes? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not the ID, not the name.
So we have to enter the ID.
Yes.
So based on ID,
Mm-hmm.
if we compare that to the system and there is a book
Mm-hmm.
update time.
Yes. Well, according to this, we're updating it regardless of whether it exists. So it's kind of going against what we were saying earlier, where we said we don't update it if the update is the same. We can implement that on a case-by-case basis if it's a case where you want to have that functionality. But now we're just kind of being generic. We're assuming that the person is sending new information that is not already on the server. So regardless of whether it exists, we need to do two things. We take this book ID, this book data that we got from the user, the client, and we're giving it an ID. We're taking the ID that they gave us and attaching it to the book data.
Okay.
Yeah? And then after that, we set the update to that time to the current time. You get me? So we're just taking the book data that they gave us in the request and using that as the entry that we're going to be putting into the library or the book list. But before it can go in the book list, it needs some things in the ID and it needs a updated that time. It also needs a created that time, but that created that time will only happen, will only be set rather, if the book never exists in the first place. Yeah?
So that's part that's going to create.
That's when we, not create it, well, we set the created that time. We set it to no. If it don't exist. And then we add it to the book list. We use this to add it to the book list. And again, I am a little bit hesitant to show you guys this because, like again, this is not database related stuff. This is just Python.
So this will give me the 201.
Oh, that's a good question. We don't do the 201 part yet. Let me specify the 201. Let me show you. Status code here. Let's put 201 for now. So this is what would give you the 201. But this, if this block of code runs, or rather this block of code, then the status code should be 201 because it didn't exist. Yeah? So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the else to say if it don't exist. What we're going to do now. Sorry, if it does exist. If it does exist. 200, right? But I'll put 200 in this case. Or we can do both. We can do either one. All right, let me see now. Yeah. Up here? So, okay, all right, that's a good question. That means you're doing your research. All right. So you're asking if we're not supposed to put the status code up here, so. You can. We put the status code up in the top line up here if it is a case, if I'm not mistaken, if that is intended to be the default status code. Meaning, if you don't specify a status code, it's supposed to default back to whatever is specified up here, which I believe is okay. But see, because our function, we're defining our function to handle two different scenarios, we'll send it manually depending on what the scenario describes. You get me? Come again? Decorator? Right. Yes and no. You can specify the default status code up here, and I think if you have code in your function, you can specify an alternative one. But if an alternative one is not specified, it will just know that it's supposed to do this one instead. The reason why I don't necessarily always use it is because, for me, a default status code should be 200. And even if you don't specify, it will return a 200. Yeah? By default, it will return. Even if you don't specify anything up here, and you don't specify anything here, so it will just know it's supposed to return a 200. Right. It's still a return. Yes, that's correct. It's still return a 200. Yeah. Which is one of the things I don't really like about FastAPI, but I guess it just means you have to remember to do it. So then no, you can write an else, so you don't have to write else if you don't want to. So the else is, let me see, where am I? All right. So in this case, book data created at equal book. So this is the folder placement. Resource exists, folder placement. Book data created at is equal to. Wait, this don't make sense. Oh. So we take books for the one that's in the book list, book ID, and set it equal to whatever the book data is. Oh, they have to do this first. Book data dot created at equal books book ID dot created at. All right, this may be confusing. Book ID. So this is the event where I never return book data. All right. Let me see if I did it right. All right, so what we're doing here is, all right, I'm going to come back to this line. Let's look at this line first. Wait, this one? Return? This return? This is us returning a JSON response with the book data modeled as a JSON. All right, the reason why I had to do this is because we need to specify that the status is 201. When you want to specify the content, you can't just put the book data, because JSON response needs a JSON to send back to the client. It doesn't automatically convert it for you. What I mean is, if you want to return a book to the client, if you just do it like this and say return book data, FastAPI will handle the conversion from book to JSON. But if you do it like this, it won't handle the conversion for you. You have to manually convert it. So you have to convert it using model dump JSON. You're saying append, but I'm not sure. You just add this line to the, yeah. And then you specify the status code. Yeah. But this no. So this is if the book does not exist. This is if the book does exist. If it does exist, find the book that already exists, take its created at, or let me tell you, the reason why we're doing this line here is because, let me see. What we're doing is we're taking the book data that was already, I don't like this method of doing it, you know. Actually, it's not horrible. All right, let me give you an example of what our book data would look like. Maybe that would help. because it would definitely help me. All right, let me see. Sublime. Okay, a book has a title, and the title is Bridgerton. Give me an, oh, what else do books have? Books also have authors. I don't know who the author is. Let's say it's Shonda, even though it's not Shonda that wrote the book. Shonda. How you spell Shonda? I don't know how to spell her name. The year, last year. What else? Genre, what's the genre of Bridgerton? Sure, mystery. Mystery, I don't know. And then, okay. So this is what would be sent from the client. A title, an author, a year, and a genre. The client would not be expected to specify what the created at and the updated at is. Yeah? Because them don't know that information. All they wanted is create a new book that have all these things in it.
Those are created by the system.
Come again? Those are right, those are created by the system. So if we get this from the client, when we get that here at this point, suppose we get into the scenario where exists is equal to true, so the book exists. Down here, we can't just take the book as it is sent to us and just set it equal to the entry in the book list, because that would replace the entry that has an ID, it has a created at, and it has an updated at with all this stuff. It would remove the stuff that we did not send in the request. So before we do that, we have to make sure that we preserve the created at. So this line here at the top preserves the created at to make sure that the book that exists in the list that has a created at still has its original created at. And then once you do that, then you can override the remaining data with this line. So we take the previously created at, the one that it already had, since it already exists, set this to have a created at. So what we're doing is we're modifying this to have a created at now. Created at, and that's going to be at some time, and that time is going to be 2026 dash, today's what day? The 19th dash, oh wait, it's supposed to be 02. 1510. So what we're doing here is we are setting the created at to be whatever the time is, or whatever the previously created at was. And then we're taking that book now and we are inserting it back into the book list with the changes that were made. And then we'll just return the book. And because we're not specifying an alternative status code, it will just return a 200 question.
You want to use the cursor to point out what's going on so you know what you actually know.
Oh,
Yeah.
I suppose that's a good point. But I mean, you will remember from class. That's true. Well, yeah, that's a fair point. So, I don't remember what I was saying. What was I saying?
You're explaining a lot the else.
All right, hold on. Let me test it first, and then we can go back to that. Because there's one thing that I'm a little bit confused about right now. I do, yeah, but you need to also react to the. Oh yeah. All right, let's test it out. So let me save this. And we run this by using uvicorn. So I'm going to say uvicorn app :app -- reload. Okay. And again, because this is a put request, we can't use the browser to test this out, because the browser does not have any default features that allow us to perform these types of requests. So we need Postman. Who just joined the call? Oh, Janelle's here again. Okay. By the way, let me see, is the call going to end after some time? No? Okay. I don't know if it's going to end, but yeah. So, Postman, where am I? My workspace is EC, this one. So let me create a new request and call it update book. Change this to put. I'm going to say books slash. Well, actually, I don't even have a book right now. Maybe we should have a request for creating a new book. All right, let me duplicate this one. On the post request. Ja. It's all right. Put request it is. Because this will do both. Okay, creating a new book. It must have a body. And the body is supposed to be a JSON. Get rid of this. Let me just copy this stuff here. Because that's a new book. Okay. So I want to update a book that has an ID. I need a UUID for this to work. Let me just get an example UUID. UUID generator. Oh, here's one. Okay, so let me just put that there. Okay, so I'm performing a put request, and what should happen is I've specified my route, or my endpoint, which is /books, specifying the ID of the book I'm trying to modify, and you guys know that my book list is currently empty, so that means there's no book in there with this ID. So when I run this to create a new book, it should return the book itself that has been created and the 201. With the ID I put. Oh no, it crashed. Why did it crash? It crashed because book has no update at. I spelled it wrong. It's supposed to be updated at. My mistake. All right, my mistake. Let's try again. Oh, okay. I figured this was going to happen, you know. So this is the object. But I think, yeah, it might be this. Let me see something. If I change this to mode equal JSON, will that fix it? That's crazy. That does work. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think this was the issue I was having last week. Instead of using model_dump_JSON, we will use model dump mode JSON. That seems to keep the pretty for us. So let me go look back and see. Okay, so yeah, wait. It gave us a 201. It shouldn't have, because we did it twice, which means it existed the second time. If I do this again, it's 200 now. But why would it? Oh, because I refreshed. Because I refreshed. So yeah, let me do it again. So I'm refreshing. So I'm clearing my server. My server is now empty. So if I make this request, it's going to create this object, and it should return a 201 because my server list or my book list is empty. So return that. It shows me what it created, and the book list is now empty. So if I had a get request handler in my code, I'd be able to get back a list of all my books, and this should be in there. Let us now edit this since we know that our book list is in there, or this book is in the book list. So it's the same ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change it from year 2025 to something else. Change 2024 instead. When I send that, I get back the same object with the year changed and a 200 to say that it did exist before and it's just changing it. Yeah? Let's see what happens if I just try to change the year alone and don't include any of the other values. So change this to 2023 and get rid of these two things. I get an error. An error to say that the title is missing, the author is missing, and a bag of other things missing. Why? Because the put request expects a type of object. Actually, hold on, let me show you. So according to this right here, the put request expects a book, a whole book. Yeah? So if a book is supposed to have a title, genre, author, year, has to have those things. If it only has the year, it does not count as a book. And so it will not pass validation. So that's now where the patch request comes in. If you want to be able to make a request that comes with a partial object, then you need to make a new model that accommodates partial objects. So that means then we need to go like this. Let me see. We need to make another book model. And I'm going to call it class. I'm going to call it partial book. Or you can call it book partial, I don't know. Whichever one you want. Base model. All right. And now with that, I will have all the same things. Well, not all of them. We'll have the title. Let me just copy this. So this, and that. Copy that. Put that there. Come again?
Take things from this other one.
I don't know. If you can, I don't know. Yeah. So we're going to specify the same types. String, int, and string. This part now might get a little bit complicated. What we need to do is we're going to specify two things. We're going to specify, well, we've already specified the types. But the thing is, because we're making it so that the values are optional, we need to say that a title must be either a string or nothing. And we do that by saying or none. So the title must either be a string or nothing at all. The author must be either a string or nothing at all. The year must either be an int or nothing at all. And the genre must either be a string or nothing at all. Oh, forgot this here. But that's not where we finish. Because even though we've specified that the titles, author, year, and the genre must have this type or none at all, we have to specify what the default value should be if you don't specify it. If you don't specify it, we want it to remain unspecified. So we're going to put the default value to be also nothing at all. The model when you're doing the patch, yeah. So what this means is a user should be able to send a book object that only has any subset of these things. So it should allow them to send a book that only has a title, or only has an author, or only has a year, or only has a genre, or a title and an author, a title and a year, a title and a genre, or author, or any subset of any permutation of this. Yeah? It's supposed to allow for any partial update, any permutation of this arrangement. Wait, hold on. Come again? Yeah, well, this is technically, it's not, I don't know how to answer that. Because it's specific to Pydantic. Yeah, it's just like what you have, I don't remember, it's just like you have in, and A-N-D, you also have or, I think, O-R, but it does something different from this. Okay. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it, but I know it works. So that's how we do it. So yeah, this allows us to specify any subset of the fields required for a book. So this would then allow us to send something like this, because this is just the year. But we need to write the code that accommodates that. So let's do that. Yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I did it off screen. From mm-hmm.
If not adding the dictionary, it should be the creative records. Books equal creative records.
This? Come again. Yeah. Oh, I think you could, well, you have to make some changes to yours. You could put books equal square bracket. Change it to book equal curly bracket and so on. I don't think you need all this, but you can still just have book equal curly bracket and it should still work, even if you don't have this part. Because all this does is just specifies, as you said, the rigidity. This just does a check. You don't need this, so it just won't do the check. So you just say books equal to curly brackets and it should still work. Okay. So now patch. At app.patch. And we're going to have the endpoint being books slash book ID. Once again. How did that happen? Def partial update book. So let me call it, yeah. Or let me see. This one was called update book. I'll call it full update book. And this one partial update book. So this takes two things. It takes a book ID, which means must be of type UUID, and it also takes from the JSON body a partial book update. So I'll call it a partial book. Sorry, this is supposed to be book data. Okay, so first we check to see if the book exists. So same way we can check it to say exists equal to, matter of fact, can we do this? Oh, yeah, book ID, ID in books. Okay. So the same way we checked the first time, we can check it again this time. Book ID in books. And then this will return a Boolean, whether true or false. If book ID is not in books, that means exists will be false. What should we do if it can't find the book? No, yeah, so yeah. If the book that we're looking for is not in the book list, if it can't find it, if it don't exist, what should we do? Come again? Resort to the put. Okay, what you say you must do? Okay, so him said 404. But you said refer back to put. To add it. Okay. Here's my question to you. Hold on. Here's my question to you. This is a partial update, right? So let's say, for instance, the person only provided the year. So they have a book that exists, but they only want to change it. They don't want to change the entire content of the book. They just want to change the year. Can they take that and create a whole book? They can't. So since we can't create a whole book, we need to tell them, yo, some error 404. So what you were saying was correct. Because for the put request, you have everything that you need to create a whole book, because the put request says it is a full update, meaning you have to provide all the information about a book so that you can replace the whole book. And if there's no book to replace, create a new one, since we have everything to create a new book. But this expects a partial request. A partial request means that it can have the title, the year, the genre, and the author, but it don't must have everything. It's going to have probably some subset of that. So because it's some subset, we're not guaranteed to have everything. We cannot create a full book. So we cannot create a book if the book that we're looking for to change doesn't exist. What if we just tell them 404? We can't find the book. So what we do, if not exists, then we just send a 404 immediately. Oh, and there's this thing that I have not shown before, but I can use it to show you now. This is how we go about returning bad status codes. When I say bad, I just mean the ones that tell the client that they did something wrong. We do not return a response. We raise an exception. Exception. The reason why I might not autocomplete is because I need a library for it. so exception, and we get that library from FastAPI. So we get this up here, HTTP exception. So we need to not return a response, we need to raise an exception. And that exception has information just like a response. We'll have a detail, and that detail would be book not found. And then the status code is as it usually is. Status code is 404. So I typed out the whole word HTTP exception. You have to type it out exactly as it exists. Right click it, and it's supposed to get the option to quick fix. You can click quick fix, and it will ask you which one of the quick fixes you want. It should specify the one that says import from FastAPI. Or you can just type it out normally. So from FastAPI, import HTTP exception. And an exception in our case will have a detail and a status code. If you want, your detail can be more defined. You can say book of ID this is not found. If you want to specify to the client which book you can find, but they're the ones sending the ID, so they must know. But you can always change it if you want. So you do that something like this. I think you'd say F and then say book with ID, and then you specify book ID, and I think you have to convert this to a string. I don't know how to, because it's currently a UUID. Oh wait, can you just say string? I don't know, maybe. Let's see if this works. Okay, so let's make it so that it does not exist. Let's put a 9 here. Why'd that break? Because I need to put a patch here. Okay, that worked. Zoom in. So it says book with ID, all of that not found. And that's the detail, and it comes back in a curly bracket with a 404. Yeah? What was this again? Was this 7? 7. Okay. So now, let's define the logic for if the book does in fact exist. Okay. So if it does exist, first thing we need to do is we need to find the book. So existing book is equal to books with that ID, book ID. So the existing book is equal to that book from the book list. Then we need to convert the update to a dictionary. Wait, oh, it's called update. Okay, right. Book data. Should I call this book data? Call it partial book data. I'm changing the name of my JSON object from book data to partial book data, just to make it more accurate. So what I'm doing is I'm going to specify, so after I've found the book that exists in my book list, I am then going to convert the update to a dictionary. So I'm going to say update data. I'm creating a new variable here called update data, if I can spell it correctly, is equal to partial book data dot model dump. So I'm converting it into a dictionary. And there's something I need to do when I convert it to a dictionary. So at the moment, let me see. A partial book only has, whatever you send it to have. If it doesn't have the things that it doesn't have, it will automatically set them to be some value if it can. So we need to tell it not to set those values. We can specify a feature in model dump to say, whatever is not included, don't set it. So I do that by saying exclude onset equal true. Exclude onset equal true. So it will not include the parts that were not set. So if I'm only sending, where is it? A year, it will remain as just a year. It will not include the parts that I did not set. So it will leave them blank. Otherwise, it will actually fill them in with something, I think. And then, it says apply each provided field to the existing book. So we do that by using a for loop. For field, comma, value. What is value? Oh, in this update data dot items. Good Lord. Set attribute of existing book set the field and the value. Is that it? Yeah. So we use a for loop to get the field and the value. When I say field and the value, this is the field here, year is the field, and 2023 is the value. Yeah? So I'm specifying I want to get the field and the value from the updated book, and I'm setting the attribute for each one. Take the values from the update that I got from the partial and set it in the existing book. So take the existing book, and for each field and value, replace the one in the existing book with the new one. This might be complicated, but maybe if you try it yourself, you may be able to see what you're doing. But hopefully the wording of it is clear enough. We are changing the values in the existing book. Where the field matches up with the existing and the partial update, find it and set the value. So the one that I'm doing is just setting the year. It will find the year of the existing book and set the value to be the new value that we're setting. This one? So, okay. The example that I showed has only a year in the object. If we were to take, this is the year, partial update, because that comes from the body. So this just has a JSON with a year in it alone. If we did a model dump, it would convert it to a partial book update, a partial book object defined by this, right? And if you did that, it will fill in the year and it will also fill in the other stuff with none. But we don't want it, none mean undefined. But what that would look like is, it would say title equal null, author equal null, year equal 2023, and genre equal none. So it would fill those in with a null value. But we don't want it to do that. The reason we don't want it to do that is because if they have a value and they're set to equal to null, it will override the existing data with null. But we don't want it to do that. So we just want it to have just the value that we specified and leave everything else empty, no value at all. So it will still just be a partial book that just has a year in it. So that's what this does. It converts it to a partial book that only has the values set that you specified should be set and nothing else. Then this will look through all of those fields and take the existing value and replace it with the new value. That's what this line does, set attribute. And it does it for each field and value in the updated data that comes from the partial update. Why not? Yes. Yeah, but that's the point of this, to update something. What's wrong with that? Why two books can't have the same year? Oh, it's not going through every book. It's only going through the existing book. The existing book that we found here, the existing book, which is the book that has this ID. It's not every book, it's just the existing book. I understand why you say it's because it's a for loop. For loop make you think it's going through the whole list. It's not going through the whole list. It's going through all of the fields in the existing book. Yeah. So it's for each field and value in the existing book. In the update, yeah. So in the update, changing all of the existing book's fields and values with the updated fields and values. So it's not all the books. That's a fair question though. I understand why you say it. And then after we do that, we need to update the timestamp because we just made some changes to the book. So we're going to say existing book dot updated at equal datetime dot now. And then we can store the book back in the book list. And then we can return the book as expected to the user. Right, exactly. We pull the data, modify it, and then stick it back in the list. That is exactly what we did.
So the raise HTTP exception, once that condition is true, just jump out the function.
Correct. Raise and return do the same thing. They end the function here, which is why we did not actually need the else. Also, since you asked the question, we did need an else here as well. Because either this will happen or this will happen. Both cannot happen. So if it does not exist and it returns this, the function ends here. So we could have just taken out this else and just put this code here so alone. Yeah, we could have, if you wanted to. But I assume that you guys are used to having if and else. So I'll put the else. I never want to confuse you. But it's a good thing that you asked the question. So it shows that you guys are at least familiar with this. So you could have put an else here and then indent all of this one time. But since raise does the same thing as return, you don't actually need the else. But you can put if you want. So if it does not exist, you raise an exception. But if it does exist, just move on to all of this. Just keep doing that. With this? Yeah, you could have. I think it's convention. If you're going to, come again? Convention to do this. If you're going to return an error, use raise. Raise the exception, yeah. Because it is a bad response, you get me? Yeah, that kind of response. Okay. Yes, right. So I think we can just do this. I can just say 2022. All right, let me just run this and see what I do. No? Oh, because the server reset. So I have to go back and do the put and put everything else back. Oops. What was your 7? So it created it, and when it created it, because we got back a 201, and if we send it again, it's idempotent, so it just send back a 200. Send it again, it do the same thing, 200. But now let's do a partial update, or let me try to do the partial update here. So I'll put 2022. Let's check this. It should change to 2022, and that's fine. And the updated that changes, which is good. But if I replace all this stuff with just nothing, it should break because a put request doesn't handle that. So what I need to do is change it to a patch request. And before I do that, let me just change the ID to something else. It should return a 404, book with ID so-and-so is not found. Turn this back to a 7. Change this to 2020. Wait, did I? Okay, there we go. 2020. Yeah. And the time should be, yeah. Yeah. Does that make sense? Do I have time to delete? Actually, I should be able to delete. Did my watch die? My watch died. Oh, it's not dead. Okay. Questions on this? We have just enough time to do a delete request. And I think delete request is not as complicated as the other two. Yes, go ahead. To do what? This code here? Paste it where? Okay. The whole thing? All right, hold on. ECSE3038. ECSE3038 2026. So, yeah, public. Don't do that, don't do that. We do not upload our VENV, we do not upload our PyCache. Come again? Yeah. But it's good if you do it with a dot, if you do it with a git ignore, it is better. As a matter of fact, let me show you. Yes, good. Okay, good. Very good. I did not formally show this. We create a new file here, new file, and call it .git ignore. Yeah? And then we'll put everything in here so that we don't want to go up in the virtual environment. So we put our $PyCache, is 2 underscores before and after. And we also don't want the VENV. So we save that. And yeah, that's the only thing. That is the proper way. Doing it the way it was asking to do it a while ago is the way. It's when VS Code notices there's no git ignore and it's trying to save you. Yeah, it's trying to save you. We should not put up the PyCache. Okay, well, don't do it anymore. PyCache is not supposed to be in the repository. The PyCache and the VENV should not be in the repository. So now, what's going to happen is it's going to ask me the name again, and I'm going to type out all of that. ECSE. Come again? Well, when I click public, it will not ask me because it. I'm going to click public. Oh, whoops. This is supposed to be 2026. On to this. What's going on? Why is it that at this time of class, every time a computer starts acting funny? That's weird. It knows that class is supposed to be ending now. Yeah. So when I click public, it won't ask me again which one I want to include because it's detected the .git ignore, and it will just handle everything for me. I'll post the link in the chat. So I can click on this. Yeah, my machine's struggling, and I don't know why this happens, and it always happens at the same time of class. Yeah, it is, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it was working fine the whole time. It's just at the end of class, it just started acting funny. I think since 2021. Maybe. 15, I'm not sure what 15. Maybe 10. Maybe. Yeah. 3 laptops? In a person's lifetime?